Okay, hi everybody. I'm Diana Hummel from Integral Ad Science. Just had a lovely introduction, so you know my title. If you're not familiar with Integral Ad Science, we are a global ad verification business. We've made a lot of strides to help advertisers power performance decisions, so very excited about the topic today. And in case you're like, I don't know what Integral Ad Science is, think about brand safety, viewability, minimizing fraud, minimizing increasing viewability, making sure brand safety and suitability are right for your brand to ultimately improve performance. And with me today is Allyssa Kaiser, who I've gotten to know by way of this panel. She's got incredible insights to share regarding how to influence brand marketing strategy with a performance lens. She is the Vice President of Direct-to-Consumer and Performance at Nest New York. So I'll pass it to Allyssa to share more about herself, and I'll kick it off.
Hi everyone, I am so excited to be here. Like many of you, I'm also a Syracuse University alumni, class of 2013, which ages me just slightly. I also studied in Newhouse as an advertising major, and I'm living my dream, so thank you for everyone who made that a reality, including Beth. Beth was one of my instructors, so hi Beth, thank you. Interesting journey I've had since joining Nest, and I know we'll get into some of my background in a minute, but I lead D2C and performance marketing, which is just a fancy way of saying digital that transforms businesses. Nest New York, for those of you who live in the New York area, you probably know the brand well. We're a leading lifestyle fragrance brand known for our candles, diffusers, perfumes, liquid soaps, and technology. So we're a big player in the beauty and fragrance space.
Thank you. So to get us started on the topics here, and Alyssa's going to share some great insight from her experience at Nest New York. Do you want to talk about your scope and what your current role entails?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I joined Nest New York, it was the second pandemic year, so 2021. And I joined at a really interesting time for the company. We had just relaunched our site in April 2020, which was Kismet. And we were also riding the wave of our very first wellness launch. So we had launched a new collection called Wild Mint and Eucalyptus, which was driving a lot of organic growth of the organization. But I was really brought on as a net new hire to drive performance marketing, really building our digital and media tech stack from the ground up. And this was during a time, if you remember in the industry, iOS had rolled out on Meta, and there was a lot of CPM inflation happening, a lot of challenges in the media landscape in terms of reaching new customers cost efficiently. And so one of my big challenges when I joined Nest was, how do you accelerate brand growth through performance marketing for a brand that really is starting from square one? So I came in and really helped to build that from the ground up. And one of my forays was really rebuilding our paid social and launching connected TV for the first time.
Huge, getting into CTV for the first time and paid social. We're going to be talking more about those strategies. Allyssa, can you talk to us a little bit more about how you've been effective in influencing brand strategy with the performance lens?
Yeah, so when I joined Nest, one of the big standouts for me in terms of the brand was people loved the brand. They loved our products. We had a very high net promoter score, and a lot of the brand growth seen at that point had been through word of mouth. So either people who were just big brand ambassadors organically, or people who would receive the brand during a gifting moment, so the holiday season in particular. And I thought, what an amazing thing that we have not exploited yet digitally. And so one of the first things we started to do was take that brand love and word of mouth and transform that into review campaigns, testimonials, bringing all those endorsements that were happening, at a holiday party, and bringing that to the internet. So we launched brand new campaigns, leading with those customer reviews and 5-star ratings, and really saw the brand transform in that first year.
Amazing. I think something else that could be of interest that you and I talked about is how you go about reviewing comments, and how you also partner with your retail partners to use that to drive your strategy.
Yeah, so I have not only the pleasure of supporting our direct-to-consumer and Amazon business, but also working with our retailers to grow their businesses as well through Nest. And so I also support Ulta Beauty, Sephora, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Saks, you name it, we're probably sold there.
Anthropologie.
anthropology as well. It sounds like we have somebody in the room from anthropology. And so we run a lot of campaigns on paid social to support those businesses, and we get a lot of customer feedback. One of my favorite things that we see as a brand is people actually sharing their customer journey with us. So they'll say to us in our paid social comments, I started at Sephora, I smelled it for the first time, I fell in love, I walked into the nearest Bloomingdale's, I purchased it there, and then I started rebuying online. And so one of the things that my team does is help to inform the business on what the trends are, how people are discovering the brand, what their path to purchase is, and how can we continue to build our business with all of our retail partners. So that's one interesting piece. I think the other thing that's interesting is we are a brand that's known for launching a lot of new fragrances, and we're the voice of the consumer in terms of how those fragrances are received. So what kind of feedback we're getting on those products, whether people like them or love them. They usually love them, but what they love about them, what product innovation they're looking for, what kind of new formats that they are expecting from us in terms of soaps or body washes or perfumes. We get a lot of comments saying, I love this in your home fragrances, I want it in a fine fragrance. I love this in a fine fragrance, I want this in a body wash, or I want it for my wall diffuser. And so we're usually the first person to be able to unearth those insights for our brand marketing team.
And I imagine it's a lot of information to take in. There are a lot of comments out there, there's a lot of reviews. Tactically, any tips for the other performance marketers in the room of like how do you really mine that volume of information, and like how do you give it the right weight so that you can make the right decisions?
Yeah, well, I'm not pleased to say I read every single comment myself, so a lot of it is still very manual, and we do our best to try to synthesize that data for our departments, but being in the weeds and really understanding your customer and understanding why your customer comes to your brand is important. I've learned a lot through our customer feedback of what needs we solve for them in terms of being the quintessential holiday gift for their hostess at their holiday party, all the way through to gifting for the Mother's Day season. So it's really important, I think, if you're going to be a marketer in general, but also if you're going to drive a digital business, to be in the weeds as much as you can to really hear it firsthand.
Well, you guys are having incredible growth, so it's definitely working. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about connected TV. So you already mentioned that you brought forth the first connected TV strategy. Can you talk about what it's like bringing TV to life for the very first time, especially for a direct-to-consumer brand?
Yeah, so when I came into the business, we were mostly a catalog photography brand. A lot of our assets were just beautifully shot products. We were not so sophisticated yet at the time to be producing a lot of TV, or any TV for that matter. We had actually produced our first video at the time that I had started, so it was very, very new to us. And for a new person to come in and say, we want to get this brand on television is scary for a founder-led brand, and especially scary for a marketing team who has no experience producing video and not really having clarity around what the needs of that new media channel would entail. And so I came in and I made the case for connected TV. It was really at the time when Meta CPMs were just up through the roof. There was no other way to acquire new customers other than to diversify media investment, and TikTok wasn't what it is today. So we started with connected TV, and I said, listen, we're not going to the Super Bowl. We're not producing a $5 million spot. We're producing video that we're going to optimize for televisions. We want to reach new people who have expressed interest in our category, and we're going to go from there. We're going to see how it works. And so we produced our very first connected TV campaign, which is super exciting for our wellness collection, and we've been producing connected TV since. I've had the pleasure of launching campaigns with Ulta, Sephora in the US and in Canada, as well as for our D2C, and we're now 4 years in of running connected TV, so the brand has come a long way.
Would you like to share some clips?
Sure. I think if the AV is working, we can share some of our spots with you. Hopefully we can get audio as well. There we go.
Make way for evergreen magic with birchwood pine. Unwrap the season with Nest New York.
Does anyone recognize recognize this brand? In a few of your homes? Your wives or girlfriends always asking for it? Because I get a lot of gentlemen who come up to me and say, can I get that employee discount?
This is great holiday gift giving inspiration right here.
It is. And I'm not
so
gonna,
you're
I don't
welcome,
wanna,
everybody.
I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I have a few products to give away later on, so don't walk out the door too quickly.
Yes, prize is coming. So with that, were there any like big hurdles? I think what you just said, we don't have to go straight to the Super Bowl. We can, start with a connected TV campaign. Any other like hurdles or pushback that you received internally, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I think video in general was a question in terms of what do we produce, where do we want to invest, do we need talent, do we not need talent? As you can see, not much talent in there in terms of mostly parts models. What's the storyboard like? How expensive does it need to be? How high-end does it need to be? And I think we dispelled a lot of rumors that you have to have, massive budgets to go into this channel, especially for a small but mighty brand. I think the hardest part about going into connected TV for me was how do you measure it? At the time I was brought in for a performance role that was really tied to very strict KPIs around lifetime value, customer acquisition cost, return on ad spend, and every partner I spoke to in the CTV space said, well, we can measure that, but they all overpromised and underdelivered in terms of actually being able to prove out, directly attributable sales. And so we searched around for the right partner for a while, and I'm happy to say we've been with the same partner now for almost 3 years. They're called Keynes Digital. I'll have to send them a clip of this afterwards. But we've worked with them to really use CTV as an insights generation channel. And so not only does it help to drive new customers to the brand, but it helps us learn a lot about our customers, which is important for our marketing team as well as for the digital team. And so we are able to tap thousands of different data segments and say, actually, the person who just watched that spot is a Bloomingdale shopper. They also love to travel. They love to travel on Delta Airlines. They also buy Lululemon. They're into wellness, and so on and so forth. And so we're able to use that to shape what does that next product look like? What does the collaboration look like for the brand? How should we change our media strategies? Who do we want to be acquiring? Who's profitable, and who do we want to go after more? So CTV for me is twofold. It's an effective media channel, but it's also unlocking those insights that you can't get from Google. You can't get them from Meta. You can't get them from a lot of the performance channels. And so I think there's a lot of value in that.
I'm going to go off script on this one. So would you consider going to a more kind of like traditional linear channel television spot? I know that you're getting incredible value out of CTV through all the insights and how this can go back and inform brand strategy, but would that be something that Nest New York would do in the future?
I think it's an interesting consideration. I'll never say no, especially if our retail partners are supportive of that. But I think we have still a lot of room to grow in the connected TV space. We're not spending millions yet, although I would love to spend more. And so for me, it would be doing more in the space and really unlocking who that customer is, testing more across our categories, getting a better understanding of our segments, and eventually using CTV to retarget existing customers. We use it exclusively now for new customer acquisition.
I love that, and then it feeds the funnel. So really great to hear. What about something else that you and I were just talking about related to product development? And I think what's really interesting that I learned from Allyssa is different markets have different kind of fragrance needs and different fragrance preferences. And I think that this is also an interesting consideration for any other marketer in the room who's thinking about global expansion. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that experience has looked like for you?
Yeah, at some point Nest will take over the world, which I'm incredibly excited for. But for those of you who are in New York, you probably think of Nest New York as a household name. We're not a household name everywhere just yet. And so as we think about international expansion, there's two components. How do you service your clients digitally, and how is that different in each market, both from a legal and privacy standpoint, as well as from a customer trend standpoint, user trend standpoint, but also the products that you're bringing to each market. And fragrance is not ubiquitous. It is very culturally influenced. We hear that from our retail partners, and we've seen that in our own research. But fragrance in the Middle East is a very different way of making a connection with someone than it is here in the United States. The preference of olfactive families, whether you're more inclined to buy something smokier or an oud versus maybe something like a rose or a citrus, which are very popular in the US. is something that we have to factor in. And so as we look to expand internationally, we're looking at our product mix, our media mix, and really trying to understand our retail layouts in each of those new markets.
Very, very cool. And how about with the expansion, like how are you thinking about media? Like where do you start as you're looking to expand? You know, what's kind of like your base from a media support perspective?
Well, I'm lucky. We're on Shopify, so we're able to see where our international business is coming from, and it's really about prioritizing where that volume is now. So we're sold in the United States and Canada. If you go to nestnewyork.com, you can buy us in both markets there, but there are certainly markets number 3, 4, and 5 that we're looking at as well. So those are the next markets that will be on the roadmap, but obviously considerations around language, around channels. The beauty with connected TV is that it is something that carries over from market to market, not necessarily every partner that you're working with, but it is a strategy that can be repeated. I think the gentleman from Mondelez said 70% of their advertising is premium video. We're certainly getting to a place where premium video is becoming more of a critical component of our full tech stack, full media stack.
Love that. Really, really good learnings from you all around. I'd like to have you share a little bit more about, you know, coming up, you know, in the ranks with a performance lens, you know, starting on the agency side and then moving into the brand side. You know, what have you seen are like really the ways of influencing brand strategy, tips for influencing leaders, CMOs, what's worked for you, and you've had incredible success, so I'm sure this room would love to hear more about that.
Sure. Well, the easy answer is that numbers talk, and when you're hitting your sales targets every month, people start paying attention. So for me, it was really about establishing a presence and being able to achieve those targets consistently to help people understand that digital is driving the business. But my background is pretty interesting, actually. So I didn't start in brand marketing. I graduated from Syracuse with an advertising degree, and the gold star was if you could get a position at a big holding company agency. You could be at a Dentsu or Publicis, like nailed it. Your professors were so proud, and so I did that. I went to those agencies and I worked for those Fortune 500 brands and climbed my ranks, working from vertical to vertical. Worked on Visa, Verizon, Johnson & Johnson. I worked in fashion, I worked in beauty and CPG, and I eventually got to a point in my career where I said, I just want to be more immersed in the business. I don't like this project-based, retainer-based work. I want to be involved in growing a brand, and so I went brand side midway through my career, and I worked in sports and entertainment and then beauty during the pandemic, and it ultimately led me to Nest. But I made the conscious decision to go into performance marketing. I actually always saw myself as an integrated marketer, and the market really demanded performance marketers. It really, that was an opportunity that opened up, and all of a sudden I was being recruited for those types of roles. And so for me, I'm a marketer first, a performance marketer second, and I see my role within Nest really being essentially a business owner within a business. So almost like the digital team, the D2C business is a subsidiary of the brand, and I'm running a little brand myself, so I have to wear all the hats, just like anyone else does in an organization where you're managing lots of different pieces. So I see myself as the CMO of our website, the CMO of Amazon, and the CMO of our retail campaigns, but of course I work with our actual CMO and her team to bring those programs to life. So that's a little bit about my journey.
I think you really speak the truth when you say if you've got the numbers, you can make a case for fill in the blank. So thank you for sharing that experience. It's very inspirational. Should we go to questions and giveaways?
Sure, before we do that, I do have a few more videos in here that I'd love to share if we're able to do that. It's not anthropology, I'm so sorry. We'll play one more.
This Mother's Day, give the gift of love. With new uplifting summer music and learning, soothing sound of Himalayan salt and rose and awakening wild winter villages. Discover Mother's Day wellness at Nest New York.
Just a few more examples of what we're doing in the connected TV space so you can really see the brand evolution. And if you're not familiar with the brand, some photos as well. But let's do what everybody's here for, which is a giveaway, right? So we're a big brand for the holiday season. If you walked down Fifth Avenue last year, you may have smelled our quintessential holiday scent in the air. We actually worked with the Fifth Avenue Association to Scent New York during the holiday season. We'll be doing it again this year, so keep an eye out for that. But I decided to get everyone in the holiday spirit. Anyone who's brave enough to ask myself or Diana a question will get a little Nest goodie from my goodie bag up here.
And I have to say that Allyssa just solved almost a year-long mystery, which was I had been smelling that delicious like tree scent when I got off the subway on my commute every day last year, and I was like, how is the Rockefeller tree making it 4 blocks and around the corner? So thank you, Nest New York, for that incredible experience.
Yes, and I will say these are full-size products. They're not samples. It's the good stuff. So I'll open it up for questions.
Thanks, Allyssa. So informative. I'm Jenny. My question is, knowing that the fragrance and home fragrance market is so saturated, how does Nest differentiate, and what's your positioning to kind of reach your target audiences?
Sure. I'll hand you our holiday read diffuser. Thank you for asking a question, being brave. It's a very saturated market. I'm sure you guys can think of 100 fragrance brands, most of them celebrity endorsed designer brands. Nest New York is probably not the first brand that you think of. One important differentiator for us is our product quality. It is best in class. It is what drove the business to where it was prior to me joining. I like to think that I've contributed to some of the growth, but it was certainly an incredible brand before my time as well. So product quality is important, and really exploiting that digitally, helping people understand that the product is so much better than a lot of the other brands that are on the market. Everything from it coming in a glass vessel, decoratives, which we just launched for the first time last year, so these limited time exclusive designs, the way that the candle burns, the ingredients and where they're sourced, really bringing those stories to life has been important in our positioning. We're definitely not trend chasers by any means. We take our time and produce products that can last.
If you had $100 in your marketing budget, how would you divvy it up between all those channels?
You're getting the wall diffuser set, best of wall diffuser. The gents tend to love the technology. If you know Pura, we were actually Pura's very first fragrance partner. So if you have a smart diffuser in your home. If I had $100, I would treat my team to some donuts and coffee because they deserve it. But I don't think $100 is going to get me very far. So let's say it's $100,000. $100,000 seems more appropriate. I think paid social plays a role and continues to play an important role in driving directly attributable revenue, and it's certainly one that we continue to grow our investment in. We are by no means pulling investment from channels like Meta, but really right now it's CTV versus TikTok. And for us, it's really about how to use video to drive cultural relevancy. The thing we don't get from TikTok as much from CTV is the insights, but we get the cultural relevancy and the real-time nature there. So for me, it's always a toss-up between where do you put those dollars. I would probably say we're putting 20% into top of funnel, and that investment continues to grow. Who else? I got a few more products here. Uh-oh, I saw 2 hands go up. You're getting the Turkish Rose Body Mist. We just launched these with Ulta, gosh, in late June, so they're brand new.
This is based on our conversation too. Considering your role in direct-to-consumer, but also the conversations we had earlier with Givenchy and with Tarte, how much do you engage with creators and influencers to drive growth for Nest?
So I love this phrase. Somebody said it to me at the company, so I'm not claiming it. That they say, once you go Nest, you're Nest obsessed. And we actually have a brand ambassador program called Nest Obsessed, where we invite people to create their own content for our UGC program, as well as engaging with influencers and affiliates on TikTok. It's an important piece. It's challenging to do at scale, especially with a small team. We tend to work with a very similar set of influencers more consistently because they're huge ambassadors for the brand, but they play a role in everything from launches to promotional events. We'll be running influencer marketing for Black Friday, so you'll see us on TikTok there. We launched our first TikTok shop in June as well with the Body Mist, so it's an important piece of the tech stack. The challenge is, I think for me, who owns it? Does the D2C owner own it, or does the press lead own it? Where does it fall? Does marketing oversee it, or is it the D2C girl? So we're always kind of trying to pull our different objectives into TikTok and to use the channel wisely so that we're building a brand, we're creating a community, but also we're driving those sales targets that enable us to spend more on marketing. So I think that's the tricky part of really who owns it and defining those roles early on. I don't have product for all of you. I'll tell you what to go.
It's okay, you can keep the product and give it to somebody
You just
else
want to
because I
crush
have to get on a plane.
Oh, fabulous.
So, full-size product, not gonna work.
Got it.
But I love it. So, I'm really fascinated by the insights that you're gleaning from paid social comments and from some of the other performance channels. How do you create a process of bubbling those up to a place where lots of the company can see and make decisions on it? Is there some formalization to it where you really can get underneath that?
Yeah, so I oversee our customer service team as well. So the customer service team is quite obviously a voice of the customer. They're usually the voice of the unhappy customer, unfortunately. So a lot of what they're bubbling up are problems, shipping problems, product quality issues, things that occur in any business. But we have regular conversations with customer service and product development. We also have a series internally called our Launch Activation Series, where we put together presentations for each other. It's a little show and tell of what's happening in our respective areas in regards to that launch. So my team is sharing, here's what we're seeing on social, here's the feedback, here's what we're running in our ads, here's what's working well and what's not just on a performance point of view, but here's what's working for the business. And what are the trends? For me, I've been there for almost 4 years, so I see the trends very clearly. I've been there for such a long time. Within a couple of days, I can tell if something's a winner or not. But for people who are coming in new, and we just hired a new creative director who started a few months ago, a new lead of international, they're still learning the business. So for me, it's important that everybody at the company has exposure. The product development team certainly, but everybody at every level.
You in the back.
Hi, sorry to mic. I'm a consumer insights professional, so that actually is kind of interesting to me. That you say that customer service is sort of the voice of the angry customer. How are you leveraging different platforms to access different parts of the consumer journey, consumer perspective, what they're interested in, what's working, what's not?
And you're getting a portable wellness diffuser. You can use that in your office, in your car. I feel like I'm doing a little QVC up here, which is our TikTok live stream, maybe. So your question was, how are you collecting all that information and distilling it down? So we partner with Gorgeous. It's one of our priority customer service platforms, where we're getting a lot of that feedback, but it's really just talking to each other. We're about 80 people in our company. You can talk to technically 80 people in the course of a year, so a lot of us are talking very regularly, but also helping to ensure they're informed on what our strategies are and what we feel is the customer relationship we want to have. So if a customer is unhappy, what are we going to do about it? What's the company's stance? Is it just refund or exchange, or is there something more that we want to offer them? How do we ensure that wow, I love this, I want to gift it to every person I know during the holiday season, sentiment carries through. And so a lot of it comes from the marketing team and the customer service teams talking together. I have one more. I think it's a holiday 3-week, so it's a good one.
I have a question. You mentioned the holiday experiential campaign last year on Fifth Avenue. How did you measure success for that? Or was it really to get brand awareness for these other markets with international guests?
That's my favorite one. I may have kept the Birchwood Pine for myself, I'm sorry. So yes, the Fifth Avenue event and PR in general, it's tough to measure, just like CTV and a lot of other things that are more top of funnel. So a few things that we've done. For Fifth Avenue this year, actually, we're going to be running digital out of home, which is really exciting. So you'll see digital out of home surrounding the event. Definitely press and awards were the opportunity with last year's activation. Andy Cohen from Bravo actually organically was posting about the event and how New York City smelled like this amazing holiday scent and you couldn't figure it out, just like Diana. And so we were able to interact with him, and that activation, I can take very little credit for it. Really, our marketing team executed that flawlessly. They've gotten a lot of awards for it. So that activation was really about bringing the New York piece of our brand to life and really celebrating the holiday season, which is important for our origin story. But we've definitely found ways to capitalize on other PR events. We just did a grapefruit pop-up in Soho this summer, and we did SMS sign-up, so we were really able to measure people who were at the event based on enrolling in our SMS program. We were able to have a whole different series for them of marketing communications. So each program is really different. There are certainly international opportunities on the horizon. We're doing much more in the holiday pop-up space this year. So you'll start to see more of it. But I think it's important to involve the digital team and really to ensure that the whole company has influence to a degree on how you're activating those events, because great ideas come from oftentimes the people who are not in that department. We found that with digital that, we have a series of great folks in the digital team who are also great marketers, and vice versa. Our marketers are great digital folks. And so just being far more collaborative, I think, than what bigger companies are used to has been something that's been beneficial.
So sadly, no more giveaways, but I do think we have time for one more question. If anybody has something burning they want to ask Alyssa.
Now that the product's gone, nobody has any questions. One in the back.
It's okay. Hi, my name is Shonan. I'm a 2018 New Hasselon.
Congratulations.
My question is on the quote-unquote rise to the top, like what are some challenges you face and what made you stand out from other candidates when you're seeking the opportunities? Thank you.
Oh my God, I love that question. Take me back to my applying for internship days when I was graduating from Syracuse. So I, like anyone else, faced a lot of the same challenges that everyone in the room has, which is there are not enough jobs for the amount of people and not enough jobs that people want. And so I was one of those candidates coming out of Syracuse with a double major, double minor, tons of experience in the industry, great internships, and I still couldn't land the internship I wanted. So a lot of it was playing the numbers game, apply to as many places as humanly possible, and eventually you'll get something that you're excited about. I don't prescribe to that approach anymore. I think for me, what's been most important has been networking. I think I've only gotten one job by applying for it. Every other job I've been recruited for. So for me, it's been having a presence like we are here with Diana on stage, but also networking and reaching out to people who are interested in the community. I've met Ian before, just casually networking about our business and growing in D2C. So really putting yourself out there, I think at every level is really important. And also putting yourself in environments that aren't squarely your discipline. So I don't go to performance marketing conferences. I work in performance marketing. That's what I do and what I'm great at. I go to other conferences. I want to learn from other people about brand marketing. I want to learn about what's happening in tech and AI. I want to learn about what's happening in product development for CPG. I want to be exposed to different worlds and different people. And so for me, networking has been critical to my path so far. And always being open-minded. I've been recruited to companies where I said, never again will I work for this brand, or I absolutely don't want to work in this vertical, and it's actually been a blessing in disguise.
Okay, so Alyssa, thanks for kicking off a really insightful conversation.